Welcome back. We in this series are on Simple Numbers Straight Talk Big Profits by Crabtree. Right now we are starting chapter 5, which is the second section of the book, how to apply the things we talked about in the first 4 chapters, which is great because I do like learning, but I also like applying. And sometimes it takes me, a pressure washer guy, just a little bit longer to apply things. Maybe that's why I'm slow to make a change. I don't know. If you heard last time, I'm more about action, less about thinking, and that could only get you so far. So, chapter 5, Taming the Tax Monster Under Your Bed, Tax Management That Works. The subheading is what to pay, when to pay, and how to avoid being a bad example. I gotta be honest, I don't like talking about taxes. I understand it's one of the things you have to do, but talking about taxes sometimes can make me nervous. Why? Well, you have to have a great relationship with your tax preparer or your accountant, or also known as a CPA, Certified Public Accountant, or maybe even a tax attorney when you're a different level. I've got a really interesting story about a tax preparer. I knew a guy when I was living in a different city, and he was an accountant and did a lot of people's taxes and business taxes as well. And he would say, "I'll even deduct the sidewalk out front of your house if you want me to, but you're probably going to get in trouble for it." What that means is sometimes we can, this sounds silly, but not necessarily physically bully an accountant or a tax preparer, but we can sometimes say things to make them take the deductions. And think, I got it. I just won. And what you did is you had someone just misfile your taxes for you. And if IRS comes knocking, they don't really care who did it. They just care that I want the business owner who represents this. So sometimes we gotta be careful in that. So I always want to make sure when I'm doing my taxes, I answer all my questions fairly, but I'm also very honest of what these things were for and he's asking. I'm not trying to push anything over because I don't want to have to answer if Uncle Sam's comes knocking. I don't know if you understand, in 2023, this last year, the federal government just hired a bunch of new IRS agents. I'm not trying to go on a political thing. Please don't fill the comments up with that. But if that means they are preparing to have to seize property and assets if people file taxes incorrectly, I don't want to be one of those. All right, so let's kind of go into some of these notes here. First part of this chapter says cheaters never prosper. That's interesting, and I had a couple good mindsets here. So what in the world is a cheater on taxes? I'm going to kind of go into that, but I want to understand first of what does that do to your mindset, okay? I had one of my coaches one time, golly, years ago, told me about this, and there's 3 type of mindsets we have. Actually, it's going to go on great time of a story I also heard when I was in the army in Italy. But he says there's 3 types of mindsets. You've got thief, gambler, champion, okay? Those 3 mindsets. He goes, it's pretty simple to understand. The thief wants to take everything all for their gain. They don't really want to pay a price. They just want to take it all for their gain. Okay? I understand what a thief is. I don't want to be one of them. The second mindset is a gambler. Well, the gambler understands there's a big payoff, but only willing to pay a little bit of price for it to see if they can get it. Okay? I don't want to pay the full thing. I just want to see if I can do a little bit to get all of it. Okay? That could be, we all understand Vegas and all those things. So that's kind of the gambler's mindset. I want it all, but I'm not really wanting to do all the work. And the last one is a champion. Think of an Olympian, okay? Someone who's performing for the Olympics. You know, they train for years on these kind of things. And you hear stories from other countries. It just seems like, my goodness, is every kid going to be a star there in our country? Meanwhile, looking at my kid, not right now, he's in school, but going, wow, my kid loves to hold that couch down real good. I really hope that's an Olympic sport one time because we could maybe do good on that one. So those 3 types of mindsets. But the champion, how it's different than the first 2 is, they know the price that has to be paid to be a champion, and they're willing to pay it. Okay? So the champion says, I have a goal, and I'm going to pay the full price to do it. Well, this could be with something very simple. You ever gone to a restaurant there, like McDonald's or a buffet? Oh gosh, I like buffets. And they have that you could fill up your own soda. I remember as a kid, that was super exciting. I got the suicide, right? The worst combination is a lemonade and root beer. Try it sometime for your kids. They'll hate you for it. It'll be hilarious. But when you go up and fill your own soda, and I'm just going to say I want a water, and then I'm going to put Sprite in it, and I'm going to make sure that I use my straw to circle it so I don't get those little bubbles so you don't think it's fizzy water. And I'll get free soda, right? What does that say? Well, that's actually the back of our mind thinking, I know I want the payoff, but I'm not willing to pay the price. So technically stealing, that one go, it's just a soda. What's a big deal? Here's the big deal. Ready for this? Your subconscious can't tell when you should be a thief and when you should be a champion. It's always going to default to what you are the most. So people say, well, if I steal, it makes me a thief. I heard one of my pastor friends, Clark Johnson, say this once. Well, you don't steal. Stealing doesn't make us a thief. We're a thief, and that's why we steal. Ooh, got goosebumps on that one. That was a great sermon. So we steal because we're a thief. That's what we're telling ourselves on these different mindsets here. And how does that play into taxes? Well, that's the opportunity a lot of us may take because we don't feel like it's a big deal. But when we program our subconscious that way, we're programming ourselves that we're going to do these things because this is who we are. And aren't you more than that? Doesn't your family deserve more than that? Don't you deserve more than that? I don't want that for you either. So those three kind of mindsets here. Follow-up story on that one as well. I got caught up in the trap many times in my life. And I was up for promotion. We're in, we were in Italy, Vicenza, Italy, okay? It was pretty neat. I was in the Army Reserves, okay? There's people who are much more hua than I was. I was just reserves for 8 years. But I was going up for sergeant, and one of the things I had to do to go through this, it's basically a whole other, if you don't understand the military, it's not basic training all over again, but it's kind of similar. And you do need to pass some physical training tests, we call PT tests, to be able to do so. And so we're actually, this is really cool, we're in Vicenza, Italy. We are working alongside the 82nd Airborne, awesome unit by the way, and I was in Transportation Management Coordinator, 88 November, so I learned how to, kind of like FedEx for the Army, how to ship things from coast to coast and overseas as well. And we're in our barracks there. It's beautiful, it's all marble, right? They're all Italian barracks, and they have the bird cage over top of it to keep us safe, so it really felt like we're a caged animal. But it was beautiful. We had these small mountains behind us. They weren't like big rocky mountains. They were smaller, but they're not like Kansas hills, okay? They're taller. And we're literally running up the mountain. That's a whole other person who runs up a mountain. But I'm doing this with my First Sergeant Gary Haller. If you see this, I really appreciate your talk. So we're running up this mountain. We're on top of the mountain. There's a helicopter pad. It's really pretty up there. There's mountain goats and the mountain goat poop, right? And so we run up the mountain. You're always exhausted. Then we start doing sit-ups and push-ups. I'm already halfway tuckered out, okay? And I'm talking to Sergeant Haller and about what's coming up in the PT test. And I ask him this one question. What's the minimum amount of sit-ups I have to do? You understand, sit-ups were difficult for me. I had a car wreck earlier in my life, and whenever I do sit-ups, my right hip would pop out. And I'm still in the military this time. I didn't get a discharge, and I never did. I was honorably discharged. I didn't re-enlist because of physical struggles. Anyway, I'm asking him, what's the minimum I got to do of sit-ups to pass this test? And you know what he said to me? Specialist Taylor, you never get ahead by doing the minimum. He used a little louder voice than that, and he had some eyes that could pierce right into you. But that really stuck with me. Sorry, I'm like tearing up here. Some good moments in that one. So we never get ahead by doing the minimum. And I don't know about you, but I want to get ahead in this life. I have some pretty cool things I'd love to do with my family and my kids. I want to be the kind of dad that can come home and be able to say, let's go out to dinner if we want. We don't have to worry about our budget on those kind of things. Let's go out, let's take our kids on a vacation. Let's just take off for the weekend. Or I'm going to college. Hey, I can help with that. I didn't get grant opportunities for college. I'm not talking about politics or anything like that, though. I was talking about my son today. I'll be able to be the kind of dad who can take care of those things if my kids want to go to college. So we got bigger goals and bigger plans for that. So when we look at those kind of mindsets, we can see how this plays a difference. And one area is on taxes, okay? And so the book talks about, moving on here, the book talks about there are common areas of tax fraud. This always scares me though. But here are the main 5 he talked about. And again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not giving tax advice here. I just want to kind of put this in your mind a little bit for the thinking here and things you can talk about with your CPA. The first one he talks about, the most common tax fraud is paying yourself a below market wage. We talked about that daggone thing in chapter 1. If your this is weird. Okay, different legal structures, LLC, S Corp. I'm not giving advice on this, but I know my past. I paid a lot of self-employment taxes, and last year we had a pretty bad hiccup and we lost $130,000 in like the first half of the year. By June, we really figured that out. We had to make some major changes. And my accountant's like, you're really in the hole. Good thing is, you're probably not going to owe taxes this year. That could be encouraging, but then also if you understand that, remember, paying taxes is a good key indicator that you're profitable. So I'm going, crud, we're not profitable. So on that kind of side, I could have taken more distributions. But here's what that does, okay? He didn't say to do that. That's not tax advice. I could have in my mind, I was going through my head, I could pay less taxes. Here is what taking distributions do. It's basically the money you would pay on your paycheck. And remember, as a business owner, whatever the employee pays, you pay as well, so almost paying double. So in this one, they take out basically 15% for Social Security and Medicare. So if you're paying yourself a salary in your business, and you can't afford to, we talked about this earlier on, and you can't afford to pay yourself a salary, which, golly, I really hope you can. This is why we're in this thing for, right? Then you're going to pay taxes. But if you say, I'm going to take a distribution, money right out of the company, we talked about this earlier, it's basically it's coming out of your profits. You still owe that money to the government, but now you're just taking it for yourself, and hopefully the account has a magical wand where you don't pay any taxes, and it doesn't always work out for you. So here's how they can tell if this is bad or not. If you're paying a below market wage, because they can see that, by the way, they don't have a look into your computer, but they can see that in your return. And they see that you're taking regular distributions. So think in the back of your head, if I'm taking money out of my company regularly, like I would a paycheck, that is one of the signals to the government, and they call it a flag. I don't know what color flag, though. Is it a yellow flag, like a penalty flag, or is it a red flag? It's certainly not a white flag. They're not giving up. But it is an indicator to the government that you may be having a tax fraud here by not paying your taxes. I'm like, son of a gun. Yes, we're in America. We're a wonderful country that I love. I'm red, white, and blue. And we're able to build a company here in a business and own it and keep it, unless we don't pay our taxes. So make sure you do that. Okay, second thing is he talks about offshore activities. I'm like, what in the world? I've only heard people doing offshore activities in the movies and TV shows. I'm not in that kind of area where I have thousands and millions of dollars of cash that I need to invest somewhere overseas so I don't have to pay taxes on it. That's basically what he's talking about. We have investments so you don't pay taxes. Now, there are some things you can do to invest to save money. Golly, maybe we'll get into that one time. I had a great friend who likes teaching classes to my team to help them. And that's another great value add you can do for your company, your team, is to bring in someone who's a professional just to share them a little bit of why they should be saving for the future. If you can be that person to teach them that, that's another value add to them. Even if they don't stay with you long term, it's going to be a huge difference in their life, and they're going to remember you for doing that. Third thing he talked about was personal expenses through the business. He used the example of he has seen clients build a house and have their whole company pay for it. I didn't even know that was possible. Apparently it's not, so it's a good thing I didn't do it. He also talking about major models or major home repairs. Now, understand there are some tax advantages. If you don't know what this is yet, please talk to your tax preparer, your accountant, of running a home-based business. Okay, I'm here in Kansas, and so you can claim, this is not advice, so I keep saying that because I don't want to get you in trouble, okay? That's actually my biggest fear, is I lead someone down the wrong way. So I take what I'm saying very, very seriously. But here in Kansas, we can deduct a portion of your home mortgage or rent for your business. It's a small portion, okay? It's not the majority of your house, all right? I don't even know the small square footage. My tax guy does, which is also why I want to have a great relationship, as I said earlier, so they can help you understand those things and you don't push them into making the wrong decisions for you. But you can deduct a small part of your house. Now, you can also deduct a small part of internet, phone, those kinds of things, as long as it's for the business use. So that's some really good things. Remember, these things are set up for your advantage here, and we can take advantage of these kind of things to build your company. And yes, I'm not going to go political. It does also depend on who's in the White House. They don't run the whole country, don't get me wrong, but they do have a good voice of pushing things to help out other Americans as well. So what about home expense? Oh, so this is interesting. You may think, hey, it's okay if I do this. I'm going to repair my whatever thing in the house. It's technically, since my office is at my home, I can deduct that. And you be careful on that. But he talked about it, as we found out, is this person wrote the book, this accountant, had to been a witness in divorce cases. Okay, and here's why. spouses who are going through divorces throw each other under the bus and say, that wasn't for the business, that was all personal, so that person gets in trouble. We would like to hope that our spouses are wives for life, or husbands for life, but maybe that might not be the case. And if you have a mindset, this is interesting, if you have a mindset of gambling or a thieving mindset, chances are you're setting an example for other people to see, and they might use it back on you. It's also one of the things you talked about is, why is this bad? Well, this is a good point. Well, we'll go to the very next one and talks about that. Working off the books, taking cash and not recording it, or bartering. What the bartering? Do we still do that? I guess that was one of the earlier forms of exchanging value, right? Was a bartering or trading, we might call it. I could be wrong. But let's first talk about taking cash and not recording it. I still have people call me up and say, well, how much for cash? And I still say, well, the same thing. Actually, I can give a small, okay, this is how we do it. I can't necessarily say this is how you should do it. From what I understand, we can't say this is the price, but if you use a credit card, it's going to be this amount. You can't necessarily say that, okay? But you can show a discount for getting a check or cash because it saves you credit card processing, okay? So this is kind of not the point the author is trying to make here, but if we get a check, I can give them a small discount instead of paying by credit card. A lot of our customers pay by credit card because we take, like I talked about earlier, take a deposit, we keep their card on file. That doesn't mean I write the thing down and I put it in my file cabinet. No, it's all in my CRM, all coded. I cannot see their credit card number, which is great. So I'm able to keep that and then charge them later on for the job. So, but if they pay by a check and the deposit, I don't really necessarily have a card on file, but I can still give them a discount. Like we have a lot of recurring companies that pays by check, and that does save us credit card processing, because when you pay a credit card fee, on a couple, 30 to 40 bucks on a big deal as a company, when it's, 4 to 20,000, it is. And so I do welcome a check on that way. But this is talking about paying cash and then not recording it. Now, this is probably going to apply to you more who are maybe just getting started out or doing something on the side. I've got a great friend here in town. His name is Amos. He's actually helped me get started in our company. Sometime I'll share that story. I think you'd really enjoy it. And this guy is a hard worker. Now, he has a main job and does things on the side to support his family and his grandkids. And one of the things I like hiring Amos for is actually detailing our vehicles. Yeah, we're in a cleaning company and we hire someone to detail our vehicles. Why? Two things. He has a phenomenal job, and my guys can too, but it also helps out Amos's company and it helps me out because my fleet looks supreme going down the road, okay? As far as keeping them clean inside and out. If my guys keep them clean, that's a whole other story. But Amos is really good about writing down everything. I can pay him cash and he still writes it down and gives me a receipt. Why? I need that for my business, but then also he does that too. Here's why. If you ever one day want to get a loan, you say, I'm starting out a business, I have a thing on the side, I'm making extra money, but you want to get a new home loan or a truck loan or something like that, and you're always using cash, how can you prove that you have any money or any revenue other than you might have some extra cash in the bank? But typically, if you're the mindset of I'm going to use cash so I don't pay taxes, that's the gambler's mindset, chances are you don't have much of that cash left over. I'm not saying it's perfect, it's always going to happen that way, but there's a very good chance if that's how your mindset works, you're probably not going to have it left over. So one of the things about being a bad example is, what example do you set for your team when they hear you did that? We took cash for that job. Where'd that cash go? Are we setting up an example that our team might follow that too? But what if the customer says, hey, I'll give you cash, and they go, I remember how to do this, I saw the boss do it, I'll take the cash, and then I don't tell him or her. See that example? That's a terrible mindset. Plus, you won't be able to get a loan later on. So do the thing right the first time so you can be that good example for somebody else. Sometimes paying the price right now is worth it in the long run. I always say pay the price early so your family later on doesn't have to. So that's why we want to always report the cash. Now, bartering. This is interesting, bartering. I have in the past, when someone wants a service done, and that we need a service as well. It's kind of a thank you. But here's where it can be bad. in my company, I get letters every once in a while that one of my customers has gone out of business. The most popular one, Burger King. Okay, they keep this one. I remember coming up to bed. I'm not saying anything bad about the Burger King, as my daughter used to call it King Burger when she was younger. They've changed hands, and when they go bankrupt, then I get these letters saying that if they owe me any money, now's the time to kind of say it. But if a company that you bartered with, say you took one of their products or services in exchange for yours, and both of you didn't record it, but that business owner says, "Hey, I did this," they could come after you for payment. What? You could be the one with a bill because it wasn't recorded and it's your opinion against theirs. Do you want that kind of headache? So what it says is if you're going to barter, record it to understand what was exchanged in for that, so that you kind of have defense in there. And then I'm sure that's also for bartering, and recording it. There's going to be tax implication too. And the last one on this topic here, not filing tax forms for your subcontractors. Okay, you may think, I'm going to help them out. I'm not going to tell the government how much money I paid them so it helps them out with their taxes. We talked about earlier those mindsets, but here's what it does against you. If you do not send them that 1099 form, basically, what if the government finds out that you hired them and they come in after you for those taxes? I don't know if that can happen, but it does bring up a good point that those who are filing with the government could be the ones left holding the bag. Oh my gosh. So if I don't give a 1099 to my subcontractor, now do I need to not file too because I want to hide those kind of things? Do you see this kind of keeps going? Why don't we just do things the right way the first time to the best of our ability, and we don't have to worry about that? Imagine going to bed at night and not having to go on, are they going to come after me? Are they going to get me? Who's the neighbor? Is he spying on me? Does he know what I have in my garage now? Does he know I bought that boat or bicycle for this kind of things? You can see the tempo of my voice, because it can create anxiety in your life, and it can create anxiety in mine. Every time I hear about some new tax deduction, I'm thinking, am I doing this right? So we kind of wrap up here. On this section. And later on, we kind of go into more of the hows and those kind of things, how to tame that tax monster. But to kind of leave you with this, on those three mindsets, if we don't get ahead by doing the minimum, that means we need to do more because we're going to earn and receive more. So catch me on the next one of Chapter 5, Part 2, and I look forward to seeing you soon.